Good evening, beautiful woman. Welcome to Isaya's Inspiring Evenings, a podcast full of goddess series, witches' secrets, colors of women, and fairy seasons to integrate serenity, abundance, joy, and magic into your life. I am Isaya Bell, creatrix, magical pragmatic inspiration mentor, tech goddess teacher, and traveling priestess. And this podcast aims to accompany you for peaceful and inspiring evenings. Isaya's Inspiring Evenings has had various iterations and styles and is published irregularly. Subscribe to the podcast on the platform of your choice to be informed of the publication of each new episode. If you like this podcast, please support it by leaving stars, blue thumbs, and reviews on whatever platform you listen to me. In 2024, there are going to be 5 series in it, for now. All different, all aiming to inspire the audience, all telling stories, each complementing each other. One series, titled Women Lighting the Way, is about women's stories, centering around the past or future speakers from the various Women Lighting the Way summits, adding to the virtual library of women's stories and providing a much-needed counterpoint to the many men's stories going around in our world of patriarchy. This is one of those episodes, and I'm happy to invite you to listen to the story of Anita D. Marshall, recorded in 2021, entitled The Journey to Heal the Disconnect That Kept Me from Living My Life on Purpose. Enjoy!
Welcome to Women Lighting the Way and to my talk where I will be sharing about the journey that I took to start living my life on purpose by healing the disconnect that was holding me back. Now, as I share my journey, I will be highlighting some of the key points that helped me and that has helped many of my clients. And it might be that it just something you need to hear for yourself to help you with your own soul alignment journey and healing. Now, just before I start sharing the journey that I took, let me quickly introduce myself. So, hi, my name is Anita. I am a soul alignment coach, energy healer, and a soul plan teacher. I live here in the UK with my partner, our 2 boys, and our recent addition of a puppy called Luna. Now, my story 16 years or so ago, when I was at the beginning of this journey, was very different. I was a high-paid IT architect working in London. I was stressed out, I was burning out, and I was just living from holiday to holiday in an attempt to recover. Now, I just want to start this talk by saying that if nothing changes, then nothing changes. It took me a long time to realize this, and also to realize that it was an inside out change that was required. Now, before my crisis point, I had tried making external changes, kind of aware that things weren't working in my life, but these external changes, it didn't make a difference. I would end up circling back to this overwhelmed, stuck person that felt unfulfilled. Now, thankfully, the universe, source, whatever you want to call it, gave me the kick I needed, along with a few little guidance nudges, and that all helped me to change all of that. Now, sometimes an awakening or awareness that change is necessary can happen over time, and sometimes you are jolted into it. Now, for me, it was probably a bit of a combination, but I'd like to say it was predominantly the latter, because in many ways, I consider The start of my story, the day that I collapsed on the ground in a little park outside the London office, where I was working as this in this high pressure IT project, and my head felt like cotton wool, and I was struggling to speak. And the work colleague that was with me at the time ended up calling an ambulance. Uh, Now, in the ambulance, the haze that I was in started to clear, and when I got to the hospital, the doctor at the hospital thought I had probably experienced a TIA, a trans-ischemic attack, and that put me at a risk of having a stroke if nothing changed. I was only 32, 33, so in many ways, that collapse was reflective of my life, the haze I was living my life in, and that not expressing my truth. Now, as I see it, soul alignment is the purpose of life. To live in alignment with your authentic essence of who you are, your soul, the core of you, the soul, because that is where, when you're aligned with that, that is the place you experience a joy, peace. It's the place you feel love and fulfillment and abundance. And when I say abundance, that is more than the monetary type of abundance. And it is also this beautiful place, this beautiful state where synchronicities happen, magical meetings and timings, weird, unexplainable happenings, or things that repeatedly show up to guide you to a deeper sense of you, where you're meant to be going, or how you're meant to be expressing in the world. I was signed off from work, and that is where I would say the start of my soul alignment journey began. And it was when the synchronicities began to happen. So, those synchronicities guided me to travel through India and Asia, to deepen my understanding of my true self, to heal the disconnect that had happened between my inner and my outer world. Uh, so this is kind of one of my first pointers, is to make sure that you are looking out for synchronicities. This is where the universe, source, is giving you little nudges in the right direction, where you need to be going, where you need to be, or how to heal the disconnect from the light and love within yourself. Though there are many ways. I would say, truly, if I'm truly honest, my story starts much earlier than that point. It starts as the soul that came into the world as an sensitive, only child that was wrapped in cotton wool. Uh, Being the sensitive, empathetic child, I easily picked up on people's feelings, and I really hated disharmony. So I also felt this need to be the everything for my parents, not to do anything to upset them. After all, I was their only child. Even if that did mean giving up my own truth, even if that did mean giving up my own desires. So, from an early age, I was already learning to stifle my words, my choices, in preference of others. And that was really the start of my disconnection with who I was. And that was what I would later be healing. Now, before I could, you know, what I needed to heal before I could achieve my purpose. So this is another key point I want to highlight to you, is to look out for where you are valuing others over yourself, uh, and letting go of your desires in preference of somebody else's. Also, I was this child that felt life energies. And it did make me slightly different from other children. It and as a result, it did open me up to ridicule. Now, being this sensitive only child, I didn't know how to handle or deal with that. So I started to learn to become invisible, to hide those parts of me. Uh, it was a denial of my own light, my own magic. It was a denial of my own quirky, unique expression. And that might be something to be aware of. A denial of your true self is another further disconnection that um, needs to be healed before soul alignment can really take place. It was this was a pattern of disconnect between my inner and outer world that I had as a child, that I would end up carrying into adulthood, and it would end up affecting a lot of my choices. It would also end up affecting my relationships. Uh, One of those choices was that I wanted to go to art college, but I ended up feeling my mother's fears around this. So I modified and decided to take a year out, little knowing the year wouldn't just be 1 year out. As a result of taking that year out, I ended up working a job in an IT support department. And I would say I actually enjoyed that. And so in the end, I didn't go back to college. I took on those fears, those beliefs from others. This is something that empaths can do if without having, when there isn't strong energy boundaries or a real strong sense of self. So that was something that definitely affected me. And then in this job in IT, I ended up taking on then came the shoulds. Now, you should advance, you should go for promotion. And then there was this internal thing. Promotions show you are good enough, right? Um, that's something I was doing. I was valuing myself by an external measure. Um, and it can be another source of disconnection that can be need to be healed before you're able to move forward. And I kind of soon was to recognize this by the when I collapsed. So the long hours, the pressure, and working in a role that definitely wasn't lighting me up, I didn't enjoy, took a toll on my health and led me to lying on the ground in that London park. And when you become disconnected with your truth, it can result in a physical manifestation, a health issue, as our bodies are the sacred vessel of our souls, and they are energetically and intrinsically linked. So any disconnect, any blocks affects the flow of soul energy that nourishes, that fuels good health and well-being. And my health crisis was the wake up to that disconnect that needed to be healed. It was my call to soul align. I'd ignored all the little whispers, kind of the little ones about making change, and And that was the big one. That was the one that really woke me up into awareness. It was also when I became aware of the synchronicities that were there to help me shift the fog, the haze that I'd been living my life in. Now, one of those synchronicities, strange unexplained events that happened was a book literally falling off a shelf in a bookshop during the time I was signed off. It was called Being Your Own Life Coach. So this is the book. And I worked through it from cover to cover. And I journaled through it. There was so much that came to the surface. And in my journaling, I realized how much negative self-talk I looked back at those writings recently, and there was so much negative self-talk about myself. There was definitely very little self-love. And also, there was so much that I had dreamed of, but about doing, but hadn't done, from fear of upsetting others, fear that I was not good enough, I was not capable. Now, that's something I'd say, being protected, wrapped in cotton wool, can leave you with a real lack of belief in yourself. Because every challenge you encounter, you're either protected from or you're rescued from. You never learn about your own power, how to be your own savior. You never learn what you're actually you're capable of. Also, scribblings were these hidden dreams of travel to exotic places, trekking, not the package tours, the tours that I had been doing. I'm to help me recover from the burnout of the work I was doing, but I mean bold, pioneering travel. So, in my GCSE time, while I was doing my GCSEs, I wrote about a story about me as this young woman going into the jungle to explore. And it's those childhood dreams and aspirations that end up getting buried in the shoulds of adulthood, the realism of adulthood. I would say I spent this time scribbling, journaling. I poured heart and soul into those pages. There was tears of pain. I was laid raw, and I was really split open into awareness. And this lovely soul is another point to the healing and alignment journey. You have to be willing to look deep inside yourself to see your truth, all the parts of you, the bits that you like, the bits that you judge and don't like. And I'd say don't underestimate the importance of this, because somewhere amongst it all is the key to where you're trying to get to. But somewhere in there is the thing that will sabotage you, that will return you to where you were if it's not healed, if it's not cleared. So this is maybe one of the most important parts that I can share with you, that can help you come into soul alignment, that can help you to heal your disconnect. So in this talk, I'm going to share with you both the long journey that I did and the short journey that I have found also. So awareness of who you are is the start. The warts and all version, and also the awareness of the hidden dreams, the potential within you. That is the start. It was then also another synchronicity happened during this time. So just before all of this, a few months earlier, my granddad had died unexpectedly. It happened a little bit before his birthday, and I'd been already planning to adopt an orangutan in his name. He had this beautiful love of these great apes, and as did I. And it seemed like the perfect gift to give to a 93-year-old man that didn't really need much more in the world, but this gift of supporting a rehabilitation program for orangutans in Borneo. Now, he died before he ever was able to receive it, but I went ahead. I felt the need, I felt the call to go ahead, and I adopted one anyway. So instead of him receiving these newsletters each month, I received them. So during my time signed off, I actually had time to read them. And in one of them was this talk about 2 months volunteering, working with orangutans in the sanctuary in Borneo. And as I read it, there was this tingle of excitement that went through me. That was kind of before the negative self-talk kind of started to kick in, but there was this niggle that would not go away. And soul alignment can often begin with this little spark, a little flicker that just will not go away, but that will not be put out. And so I ended up picking up the phone and asking about volunteering. And the lady at the end of the phone explained that normally there's a 2-year wait list. But she said, strangely, that just that week that somebody had to give up their position in 6 months' time, and none of the other waitlist people could actually make the date. She said, it's really weird. She says, usually we fill up gaps so quickly. So kind of that is that synchronicity in action, those strange, quirky, unexplained situations. And so strangely, I also found myself saying, yes, I'd apply. It was all without my usual overthinking. Maybe there was part of me that didn't believe that I would be accepted, but I was. And then came the OMG, how the hell am I going to do this? This is ridiculous. I have a house, I have a mortgage, and I have a job, a well-paid, good job. And then also there was also what would my mum say, came up as well in all of that. Then there was like the questions of, could I really survive in the jungle? But instead of saying no, I journaled more. I brought into awareness the things that were under the surface. And this is another part of soul alignment, the part of the soul alignment journey and that healing, is to start to believe that there is a way. You just have to find it. And so I kind of initially thought maybe I could take a sabbatical, but then something inside of me was kind of screamed, no, 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 no. That's a cloud. That's a dark cloud that will hang on over you. So my thoughts went, giving up a good job for just 2 months. So I thought, okay, if I'm going to give up my job, I need to do it for at least 6 months. And I looked at and I planned a meditation retreat, a trek in the Himalayas, and a little visit to India, all of which were more like kind of backpacky, organized excursions, not really the true free travel that I envisioned in my dreams. But there again, I hadn't at that point healed those patterns within me. The one that was willing to take a risk or believe in myself enough. And so I did all this, and then I told my mom. So you can imagine kind of the response, and they attempt to talk me out of it. But I'd already come into much awareness, and I'd also already done started the healing from the disconnect. And for the first time in my life, I was going to walk a path that diverged from being the good daughter and taking the expected choices. Um, so, and then came telling my work. They did try and persuade me to take a sabbatical, but I was ready to let go. I was ready to let go of the should, or also I was ready to let go of that need for having a status job. That is another level of healing. You need to be willing to let go of old patterns, old stories, the old you, because there's something keeping you back from being aligned and fulfilled in there. So for the first time in my life, I was really asserting myself, asserting what I wanted in my life for myself. I was saying yes to me. I was saying yes to what I wanted, my desires. And this is another big healing of that disconnect that you might need to do, is to say yes to yourself, to actually believe you are worth it and believe that you're capable of it, that you are good enough, or at least you are good enough to learn how. And I was starting to feel alive. I was starting to feel excited. And I think I realized just how deadened I had been for so long, emotionally, physically, mentally. I had just been the kind of walking dead at that time, just surviving, definitely not thriving. So in July 2007, I boarded a plane to Borneo. I don't think at that time I realized this. This was the beginning of my journey, and I was only really seeing the physical journey I was planning, but it was a start of a deeper inner journey. And it was something that I later referred to as my journey into soul, the soul being the core of myself, my and it was also the journey that would connect me with my purpose. Um, so during my time volunteering in Borneo, I would say I really grew up. I pushed myself, I took risks, and I discovered I was more than capable. Um, so there was this beautiful growth that happened at the beginning of my journey. But another significant point on the journey, my travels, was during the meditation retreat. As I stood on this terrace overlooking Kathmandu Valley, in Nepal, there was this quiet. This wasn't just the external quiet, this was an inner quiet as well. And in that quiet, in that pause, I became aware of something else. I became aware of the flow of energies and my body, also the inner whispers of the yeses and the nos. Um, I guess you'd call it intuition. I was being reconnected to both to all of that, within that quiet pause, and the quiet pause out of busyness. And it was, it's something I call the art of the sacred pause. A dragonfly on the river banks of the Ganges refer kind of reaffirmed that aspect of the sacred pause in the busyness. Now, busyness is often something we do as a way to hide ourselves from the pain, from the feelings of being lost or unfulfilled. It's a way of drowning out the emotions, the feelings. Keeping busy keeps it at bay, keeps it at a distance. Now, in that monastery, I also met a Westerner who was in the process of exploring the Buddhist monk path. Now, he was due to go to Thailand for Christmas to meet up with one of his old friends, and he invited me to join them there to celebrate Christmas with them. Now, it did mean the plan of ditching my organized trip to part of India, but in that quiet, sacred pause that I was in, I could hear the whispers of my soul telling me, yes, there is a growth that will happen by saying yes to this. So I rearranged my flights and informed my parents I would not be coming home for Christmas as planned. I was increasingly getting bolder, more confident. I was no longer choosing the safe options, the should options, the known options. I was trusting something inside myself, but that was also outside myself. Those soul whispers guiding me to where I needed to be for more learning, more growth that my soul was desiring for me to get me to my purpose. And from that point, there was so many more synchronicities happened. People, places, repeatedly hearing or seeing something. And one of those synchronicities led me to a coffee shop with this attached bookshop, which did mean another book came into my possession. This one was about chakras and healing the chakras. And this is the book, right from where I picked it up in India. And so much healing and awareness came through reading these pages. And it sparked this interest in energy healing, chakra work. And then came another synchronicity where I discovered a Reiki course being run in a place. I happened to discover it because the place I was staying in developed a fault, and I had to relocate all of a sudden. And so I saw this course and signed up and did it. Learning Reiki allowed me to channel that energy sensitivity that I had from childhood. It allowed me to channel it into this practice, healing practice for myself, but also for others. And it lit up a spark of purpose, and a calling that was already starting to grow within me. And I have since gone on and learned more energy healing modalities. I've learned emotional freedom technique. I've learned Atlantean paddles, which are beautiful energy healing. And so this is just one of the paddles. There's 7 of them. So these are Atlantean paddles, and I use them on myself and I use them for my clients, and they bring this beautiful energetic healing they work on where helping me heal me from the disconnect that is my light, myself, my love, my truth, and also my power. It's the energy healings that I've done for myself allow me to now express my true self without fear, without shame, without guilt. And I also do that now for my clients as well. But then in this in my travels, then in my journey, came this question: was it possible to hold true once I was back home? Actually, was I ready to return? I wanted to travel more, but I got locked out of my bank account, and the dwindling access to funds meant it was time to return home. I believe it was the universe nudging me to say that, yeah, this part of the journey is over. You've done the 6 months has become 16 months. And then it was a case of, so what now? And that was another part of my travels. All too often on my journey, I would end up talking to people. They would compliment me on my ability to really see deeply into them, really give them some really insightful guidance. And more than once, life coaching was mentioned. Uh, Remember when I said about synchronicities can often come as things repeating themselves, showing up repeatedly? So that led me to searching for and applying for a spiritual counselling and life coaching diploma. And it was actually on that course that I learned the biggest awareness tool that I use for myself and within my clients. It was the tool that brought all the pieces of the jigsaw that I'd gathered along my travels. It brought them together into this coherent picture for me. And that tool is Soul Plan. So it's one of my foundational tools that I use within my practice. It is an ancient system of life purpose guidance originating from the ancient Hebrew texts and has been brought forward to the current times by the late Frank Alper and then to Blue Marsden. And it was with Blue Marsden who taught me. In it is this star of creation, the star of creation of Soul Plan, which holds the energies of your soul journey there to help you shine your light. It holds the challenges that you've come into experience and heal. And it holds those soul gifts, the talents, and what your soul is aiming for. So I view the physical travels I took as me taking the scenic route to my purpose, and having learned Soul Plan and using it for myself, I view Soul Plan as the shortcut version with extra bonus insights that I hadn't discovered. And Soul Plan really helps me to say yes when an aligned opportunity is rising, but maybe my Soul Plan challenges will haven't been healed fully and will show up in a new way and kind of make me hesitate. And it led me to saying yes to becoming one of the first teachers to be taught by Blue Marsden. And it helped. He wanted to get this awareness and healing tool, Soul Plan, out to more people, and having teachers would help him do that. And so my challenge energies would have made me shy away from this opportunity, but I could see in that star how I was being called to shine the light, my soul destiny, my purpose. And so I embraced my fears, overcame my challenges, and said yes. And it was most definitely the best decision I've made. And it brought such awareness and healing to myself. And it's brought this beautiful awareness and healing to the 1,000+ clients and students that I've had the pleasure of sharing it with. And the more I've healed myself, the more it's allowed me to shine my light in the world to help others. So that kind of brings me to the end of my sharing of my journeys to heal my disconnect. and to come into living my life on purpose. Now, if you are ready to heal the disconnect and to live your life on purpose, then you can find me and my soul plan readings, coaching, and healing services at my website, anitadmarshall.com. You can also check out my free guide, Living Your Life on Purpose, for further soul alignment guidance. And just before I finish off, I just want to thank you for showing up, for choosing to make the time to hear this talk, because somewhere in my words, there's maybe a bit of synchronicity that will help you shine your light and heal the disconnect that might be preventing you from shining your light. And so I thank you, and I wish you light and blessings. And I hope to be able to help you further with your soul alignment journey. And thank you once again.
That's it for this episode. The next one is still in creation. Thanks for listening, and don't forget, if you want to support this podcast, share, subscribe, and leave stars, blue thumbs, and a review on whichever platform you listen to. If you want to be accompanied in the change processes that life offers you, if you want to live a goddess life daily and participate in the awakening of feminine energy in the world, know the secrets of witches, and apply the rituals of fairies in your daily life, contact me on my website isayabelle.com. You can also subscribe to my newsletter to be informed of all the news in the real and virtual world of Isaya. You will, of course, find this podcast on all platforms: Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, etc., but also on YouTube and on my website, isayabelle.com, on the podcast page.